One of the best things about going to a Comic-Con is meeting your favorite creators and having them sign a book that means something to you. Or is it a chance to turn a quick profit? Let's check it out. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This week on the One Shot, I'm going to go over something that's relatively interesting to me, and that is autographs. So autographs are great ways for you to kind of connect with your creators that are, producing your favorite books and really kind of show your appreciation. But there are some people that approach them with a different perspective. They're looking to kind of get a few books signed, flip them for a quick profit, those kind of things. And the question is, does that math really add up? One of the things I'm going to do here is I'm going to use two books from my personal collection that I got signed at Boston Comic-Con in 2016. So that way I can give you an example as to why people would do certain things. So let's start off with the personal aspect. So most people that are going to a Comic-Con, they're looking for some sort of collectability, or they're looking to show their admiration for the creators that have built comics that have, helped them in some way. They're something they connect with personally, or they're, an introduction into the comic book community and industry, and it's really their way of saying, thank you, I really appreciate what you're doing. If it would mean so much for me for you to sign this book. And from my own personal perspective, that would be something like this. So this is Amazing Spider-Man issue 334, and you can see it's beat to crap, it's in terrible condition, and right down here we've got a little signature from Eric Larson. So the reason that I had him sign this book is because this is the first comic book that I ever bought with my own money. So back in 1990, it's just like I was just a little kid, I got the dollar that I needed to buy this comic book, and I was just like, oh my god, Amazing Spider-Man, it's got Electro on the cover, and you got Dr. Octopus's arms, and it's like Sinister Sticks, and I read this thing like dozens upon dozens upon dozens of times, probably well into the triple digits. Overall, it was just like, it was such a new and crazy atmosphere. It got to the point where my teachers in school are just like, hey, you need to have him read other books beside comic books, because it was just very easy to identify with the morals. The book was very well written, and overall, Eric Larson and Todd McFarlane, their art between Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man redefined and basically set my expectations for the entirety of comic books. Like, that's where I found my origin story, so to speak, when it came to comic books. So getting him to sign a book like this is very personal for me, because it allows me to, I met Eric Larson, I told him about everything. I'm like, this is the first book that I ever bought when I was a kid. You, Todd McFarlane, you guys really defined how I viewed superheroes and the whole comic book industry and comic book scene. And overall, it was great meeting him, because he reacted very well to my personal story. It allowed me to just have a conversation with him. He was the first person that I had sign a comic book at the con. So that was awesome. And it didn't cost any money, it just cost the ticket for attendance, which would have been great anyway, just seeing all the stuff to buy and all that kind of stuff. So this is a very personal kind of comic book for me, and it's a very personal reason for me to get this comic book signed, which is very different compared to what the other option is. So there are people that were, I'm sure that they're waiting in line like me to meet with, say, people like creators like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. And overall, they're probably one of the most desirable combinations of people to have at a con, just because of the New 52 run on Batman has been extremely popular. So I had this book. So this is Batman 50, and it's the fried pie variant. So this was only available at a few select retailers, and the cover itself was done by Raphael Albuquerque. So what you can see is that Raphael Albuquerque signed there, Scott Snyder signed here, and Greg Capullo is signed here. And this is a book where you can start trying to run the numbers to figure out what kind of actual cost there is compared to value. So this book on its own is about a $5 to $10 book, depending on the condition. The book that I have, it's a 9.4, 9.6, depending on how you're grading it, how stringent you are. It could pull a 9.6, depending on exactly what's happening right now, but most likely it's going to grade out at a 9.4. So a book in that condition, that's a $5 to $8, maybe $10 book on eBay. A site like what I've got behind me. And then what we run into is that a book, say signed by Greg Capullo and Raphael Albuquerque, ungraded, probably steps into the $35 to $40 category. Nothing really too terribly crazy, but this specific variant signed by those two artists does command a little bit of a premium on, say, like a site like that. But there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get that. Maybe it's 30 to 40. And then once you get a CGC verified or a CBCS verified signature, an actual graded in a slab, verified to be signed by those particular people, then you start seeing numbers jump up to about like the $70 to $80 mark. And that's not necessarily including Scott Snyder. So Scott Snyder, you throw an extra $10 to $15 at it in each case. So this book is going to be anywhere from a $50 to $100 book. But that is where we kind of have to look at what the investment is versus the return. So the book itself, it's issue 50, so it's a $4.99 book. I bought it for $4.99 when it came off the shelf. So just the raw cost of materials is $5. The ticket just to go to Boston Comic-Con for one day is at least $30, up to $45, depending on whether you're going to go Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Now, if you're just going to get this book signed, obviously you're making a poor decision, especially if you're flipping things for profit, because there's, a lot more opportunities to get other books that you can. But let's just say the main focus is to get things signed by Snyder and Capullo, simply because not everybody can attend the con all 3 days, and not everybody is available to sign all day long. These guys are also probably one of the most in-demand sets of folks to chat with, so the typical waiting time for a line is somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 4 hours to talk to Snyder and Capullo. So you're going to pay $30 for a ticket, you're going to wait in line for 2 to 4 hours, and then you're going to get up there, and then if you want a CGC verified signature, it is $15 for those items. Like for that item to be verified and witnessed by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, it's $15. So you're talking about $45 just for that. And that's before you have any of the costs of actually CGCing the book, which is, $20, $30 on its own. So just your raw cost of the book, the signature, the ticket, and the actual CGC service is probably in the $80 to $90 mark. So if you're selling it for $80, you better have gotten several of those things taken care of. You better have had other books signed by other people, because overall, it's just not a very cost-effective solution. Especially when you start talking about like Frank Miller. Just to get one item signed by Frank Miller and be in his VIP meet is $150. So behind me on eBay, you'll see Frank Miller stuff selling for about $199. So if you're talking about $150 for a Frank Miller ticket on top of your regular admission, so you're at least $180, and then you've got your CGC process on top of that, which is another $25, $30, you're talking about $200. So you've invested $200 to sell for $200. It just doesn't make sense. So one of the big things that I kind of want to convey about this is that even though this book, this book I've got right here, if I really wanted to, I could probably sell it for, like $30, $40 pretty easily, $50 if I was really trying. And if I wanted to, I could send it off to CBCS and get their verified signature program, which is $25 on its own, plus the cost of grading the book. And then depending on what it returns back at, maybe I've got a $70, $80 book on my hands. But that's not enough. It's one of those things where we're in an industry where the best part about it is being able to interact and, communicate with the creators that build the products, that create the art, that put their blood, sweat, and tears into what we value, both story-wise, art-wise, and then, like emotionally. They create these things that we really hold dear. So that's why, we should start treating books like that, at least in my perspective, more like this book. It should feel important. It should be your way that you want to show your appreciation. It's going to give you an opportunity to meet your creators. So what it all boils down to, if you're going to get things signed, absolutely. Go, meet people, say hi. Some of the best experiences I had at Comic-Con were just sitting around talking to people that were signing my books and letting them know what they meant to me and how they came about to create those things. What their process was. Really kind of meeting and interacting with those great people. I did notice that, I have another book signed by Capullo and Snyder, and that was Batman 40, The Death of the Joker. And immediately after Boston Comic-Con, I saw somebody selling the same book on eBay for $20, saying that they just got it signed at Comic-Con. And when you take your eBay fees into account, the cost of your ticket, the actual cost of the book itself, which is a $5 to $10 book if you want to buy it and you didn't already have it, there's a whole lot of time and a whole lot of effort for not a lot of profit. So we should just really kind of see this for what it is. A great way to show our appreciation to the creators that build the books that we love. So that's how I feel about autographed comics, but I want to know what you guys have to say about that as well. So hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.